erupt, but it happened. Leaders all over the planet seem to have come down with war fever, and preparations for apocalyptic showdowns are being made. The Bible says a war is coming that will kill a third of mankind, and today we're going to give you 10 signs global war is rapidly approaching. Welcome to the Endtime Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. We have open lines at 877-ENDTIME, 877-363-8463. Give us a call. We would love to hear from you. Also, don't forget to share, heart the video, and also comment. Let us know what you're thinking in the comment section. If you're on one of the platforms where you can subscribe and turn notifications on, do that. It helps us get to you and your friends and family. So share, comment, heart, subscribe, notifications on, all the things. Also, have you been to endtime.com/switch yet? Told you all a few weeks ago about my friend who I've known for nearly 15 years, a pastor in the Dallas area. He posted a very interesting thing on Facebook where, by the way, he became an ordained minister when I was getting my license initially, but he works for America's Christian Credit Union, and he received a message from another pastor whose church bank account is getting shut down from one of the big three banks. You probably know them, Chase, Wells Fargo. I don't know which one specifically he's dealing with, but it's one of those big three. They're also forcing him to refinance his loan away from their bank. Some of you say you're loan officers and that does not happen. I called him up and verified. I said, now you posted this. What is true? He said, it's true. So I don't know what that loan officer's talking about, but this is happening. But he said it's the third time in 2 months that he's had this conversation with Christians who've experienced the same thing. The bright side is those folks switched to America's Christian Credit Union, where they can't be canceled for their biblical worldviews. Become part of the redeemed economy and join ACCU today by going to endtime.com/switch. Make the switch to America's Christian Credit Union today. Again, endtime.com/switch. All right, Dave. Doug? Oh, my. I became one of those people.
Oh, man.
All right, Vince.
Yeah.
Doug?
Yes.
Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah.
It was a whirlwind. You celebrated an anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Anniversary on Wednesday, and had crazy things happen. Our air conditioner went out right before we
endured
went
the
out.
storm yesterday. Mm-hmm. You were hit by the hurricane storms.
Yeah. We had 3 tornado warnings within an hour and a half at our house, so it was interesting. It all started happening about the time I was supposed to be monitoring the chat for Dave when he was online yesterday, so I had to ask somebody else to take the ball, run with it while I was in the closet. My wife, she got mad at me because I didn't stay in there in the closet with her for very long because I needed to go outside and look out. I needed to see the storm. You know how we are in Texas when we have storms like that. We walk outside and sit on the porch.
Absolutely.
So that's what I was doing, even though you shouldn't do that. It's dangerous.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you're safe.
Thanks.
I'm glad you're here.
Appreciate it.
Safety is our #1 priority.
Isn't
here.
it, though?
So we are so glad that you're here to do the show today. And today we're talking about 10 signs global warming is rapidly approaching. Mm-hmm. Doug, which number, now you don't have to say what it is yet, but which one of the 10 stood out to you the most? Number 3, number 7, which number?
You know what? One of them did, and I don't want to say out loud which one it is, but I mean, you're asking.
Which number? You don't have to say what it is, just the number.
Oh, okay. Don't tell you what it is, just tell you number 10.
The last one?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to keep people here for a long time.
No, you'll see why when we get down there.
All right. Number 10 is the one that stands out the most to you.
Yeah.
Well, what's number 1? Let's start there.
Okay. Well, first of all, you know, this is an article that was written from Zero Hedge is where I got this. And I know how Vince loves to do those countdowns, you know, and so I'm like, oh, this is perfect because this gives us 10 reasons why this apocalyptic global war is coming. And of course, since it goes with everything that we talk about, I mean, you know, Revelation 9, 13 through 21 tells us about this 6th trumpet war, and it tells us that, you know, these 4 angels are bound up in the river Euphrates. It also tells us that 1/3 of mankind is going to be killed in this war. And so it's interesting that people start talking about a war that's going to kill a lot of people. And that number is actually, when I looked it up today, you know, because we're growing. I mean, the population of the earth is growing, so that number changes. And now it's up to, I don't know, I think last time we talked about it might have been up to 8 billion. Now they're saying 8.1 billion people is 1/3 of mankind. So anyway, interesting article. Talks about the things we're talking about and then gives reasons why they believe this, okay? So that's why this kind of jumped out. The first one that you're asking about, number one, they say, is the Israeli-Hezbollah war that's going on right now. So, you know, we dealt with Israel and Hamas. Now, remember, Vince, that when this all started last year in October 7th, they've actually been fighting with Hezbollah since October 8th, because Hezbollah was helping Hamas. So while the things were going on in Gaza, what was happening up in the northern part of Israel was Hezbollah was launching missiles and doing different things there, where they had to move a lot of those settlers out of northern Israel. I think it said, like, the last count was like 10,000 people are homeless right now, are away from their homes because of this war. Now, Hezbollah, Vince, is a little bit better military-wise than Hamas, because Hamas is really like more of like a rebel force. Even though Hezbollah is also a rebel-type force, they're more organized and they have better weapons. And so they have a lot of different weapons, and that's why this war has that apocalyptic feel to it, because the article states that it could get bigger, could be a bigger war because of the players that are involved here, and because Hezbollah's ally is Iran, and of course we know Iran wants to destroy Israel. So that's where we're at right now with this. So the number one is Israel and Hezbollah are both making preparations for war. They've both got drafted battle plans, and the U.S. believes that because of this war will intensify. Like it will not just be Israel and Hezbollah, especially if there's boots on the ground in Lebanon. So that's one of the things that are going on. Now, last Thursday, Hezbollah launched 200 rockets and mortars. Remember, so it wasn't that long ago. What was April? All of us were away. We were up at Jim Baker's, and Dave was on there doing live broadcasts for a prophecy weekend. And during that time, it was Iran that did it. They launched 300 missiles and drones. So that was a big deal. Remember, we, even did the special broadcast that night via telephone. It was terrible, but it was one of those things you're jumping at the last minute. But this happened last Thursday night. Hezbollah launches 200 rockets and mortars and more than 20 drones into Israel. And according to some of the stories that I was reading about
When you say last Thursday,
yeah,
I hate to interrupt you. Someone told me I was the Joe Biden of the Endtime show, and then I needed to quit because I interrupt you too much. So
you need to quit the Endtime show.
That's what they said. Yeah, they said, like Joe Biden, it's time for me to quit.
Wow.
So I hate to interrupt you, Doug. I feel like I'm operating at a little higher level.
Yeah.
Joe Biden, but maybe not. Put Vince Biden in the comments. Let me know what you think. This happened last Thursday?
Yes. When all this was going on, it was a week ago last Thursday is when it was.
So, I didn't hear a lot about that.
Right.
This was not all over the news like
right.
the last time it happened in April.
Yeah. So it's really hadn't even been a week yet. This is only Tuesday, so it hasn't been a week. This article came out on the 5th, and it was talking about, this was happening at that time. So, that's what was going on. They did this, and no, you didn't. But, we have an app. Do you still have the app on your phone? Because I remember that morning, we were at breakfast that morning, and my phone was going crazy. My daughter was like, "Dad, what's going on with your phone?" And I'm like, "Oh, Israel's getting bombed right now." Well, that's what that was all about. That was about those 200 rockets coming into the area. They were being bombarded. And one of the things, Vince, that they say about it is that a lot of this stuff flies under radar because it flies at a lower altitude, and it's harder for the Iron Dome to take these missiles down, some of these missiles down, because they have different types. They have anti-tank missiles and all kinds of different things that they fire into Israel. And of course, Israel, one of their main weapons that Israel has is the Iron Dome. I mean, it's a defense mechanism that we saw work really well back in April when it was shooting down different drones and missiles. Well, these that Hezbollah have, because of the close range, and this is another reason why Israel says, we can't have a two-state solution, is because these things fly lower than what the Iron Dome picks up. So these have to be picked up by other means, or they're actually making contact and, blowing some things up. Now, fortunately, there wasn't a whole lot of people that were injured in that, but yeah, you didn't hear hardly anything about it. I wonder why that is.
Well, why is that?
I don't know.
You really wonder.
You really do. You wonder why is it not being reported? I mean, we've seen an uptick in support for the Palestinian people and for everybody, talking about how Israel is really the aggressor here when it was Hamas that attacked and not the Palestinian people. And so, this may just be the media's way of, not showing this because they don't want people to, know that this propaganda they're pushing, it's not Israel that's the aggressors here. This is the enemies, their enemies, these, terrorists that have association with Iran, these proxies.
Well, there's something else that wasn't in the news. A massive hit to the U.S. dollar just came in June when Saudi Arabia did not renew its 50-year petrodollar deal with the U.S. since 1974. Saudi Arabia has sold oil solely in the U.S. dollar, and that was huge to our global economic dominance. Now they want options other than the U.S. dollar. So if there's less demand for the dollar, what do you think happens to the dollar? It's reasons like this that Americans turn to Birch Gold Group. For over 20 years, Birch Gold has helped tens of thousands of Americans protect their savings by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA into physical gold. To learn more, visit birchgold.com/endtime. Claim your free, no obligation info kit on gold. Again, visit birchgold.com/endtime. They've certainly earned my trust with their education-first approach, thousands of happy customers, and their countless 5-star reviews. Protect your savings with gold before the dollar plunges any further. Visit birchgold.com/endtime today. Doug, they also have 45,000 fighters, 150,000 missiles, a bunch of different rockets, and who knows what might happen next. One thing that made me wonder if we didn't hear much about it was because of the lack of, or at least the threat of a lack of support from America, from the Biden administration, and also, like you suggested, a number of Palestinian, pro-Palestinian protests, pro-Palestinian demonstrations in the media. Could it be that they're trying not to upset, I guess, the audience on the far left media? Is that why we're not hearing about it? Which we're not hearing about it anywhere hardly. So yeah. I don't know how to rectify it. Really,
the media, they portray Israel a lot of times as the aggressor and not the ones who are actually attacking Israel. Israel is just trying to live in peace in the middle of all these people who consider them enemies. And so a lot of times I think the media just doesn't cover things because they don't want everyone to really know, what they're up against. Because normally you won't hear about somebody like Hezbollah launching 200 missiles, but if Israel launches a missile back and it happens to hit somewhere and, there might be some casualties of war, well, then that's going to be all over the place. Israel attacks Hezbollah and kills, somebody that's just a regular citizen and not involved with Hezbollah, so they'll report on that kind of stuff. But anyway, don't get me started on that because I'll go down a rabbit trail we don't need to go down. So
I won't. So number one is Israel and Hezbollah preparations for their battle plans, what's going to happen there, who's going to get involved with all of that.
Right.
Number two.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, so this one is scary, and this is what America, I think, is worried about. Iran's warning that they threaten a obliterating war if Israel invades southern Lebanon. So they're saying if Israel comes into southern Lebanon with boots on the ground forces, their tanks, those kind of things, that there's going to be more attacks that are going to happen, and it won't just be Hezbollah that they're facing at that point. Iran is saying that they will face a full-scale military aggression coming from all sides. And remember, we found out the other day, I believe Dave even talked about this on one of his programs, that even in the West Bank settlement, they are now finding where Iran has been sending weapons into the West Bank. So they're giving Hamas people, the folks that are involved with the terrorists. And not only that, let me just say this, because it's not all there. There's not a lot of Hamas that are even involved in that, as much as it is Palestinian people who are getting these weapons as well. And they're, it's more like that type of situation in those areas in the West Bank. And remember, the reason why the West Bank is, when you find out things like that, the reason why that perks our ears up is because it is the West Bank where we know that the Great Tribulation is going to begin. That's where Jesus said, let those who live in Judea flee into the mountains, because there's going to be great tribulation. So we're seeing those people now begin to be armed, where they haven't been armed to this point, but they're smuggling weapons into that area through Iran, or Iran's proxies are doing that. Now Iran says if this happens, if Israel launches this attack, that it's going to come from even terrorists that are in Iraq and in Syria. So it's going to open up everything to the north of Israel. Their enemies that are there will be attacking from those locations. And so remember, we've talked many times about the Ring of Fire. Well, that's what Iran is saying is going to happen. This will be a full-out military aggression that will come against Israel if they do this. Resistance from all fronts is what was posted on Twitter, which is... Twitter's the one that's now X, right? So this was posted on X the other day by, I think, one of the leaders of Iran. I think it was their defense leader that said this. So he said not only would they get that, they would have the Houthis down to the south, so they would be encircled in that ring of fire, and that's what they're threatening. So number 2 is a big one as well. I mean, it's a big reason. So.
All right, and then number 3 is Netanyahu's conviction. Why does that have anything to do with a possible apocalyptic style war?
It's not the way that it reads. I think more it's that he is afraid that if they don't do something with Iran, that's the conviction it's talking about. It's talking about, he believes, so what it says is the Israeli prime minister believes a major war with Iran is inevitable due to their regional ambitions. Netanyahu claims that they want to take over the Middle East, including the Sunni Muslim nations. Well, that's what a lot of people were afraid of as well. They've been afraid, the Sunnis have been afraid of Iran since the peace plan's been being put together. That's one of the things that President Trump promised, that they would help with the aggressions of Iran if those Muslim nations signed on with this peace for prosperity deal. And so that's what Netanyahu's talking about. He says that, these people, they want to take over the entire Middle East, and they want to they want to destroy Israel. And so Netanyahu does not see a way out of this without a war with Iran in the very near future.
All right, so those are the top 3 so far. We've got Israel and Hezbollah preparations, Iran's warning for the obliterating war if Israel invades southern Lebanon, and Netanyahu's conviction. Doug, first of all, we've already said you're not going to believe number 10, so don't go anywhere. You've got to wait around until we get to 10. But those first 3 all involve Israel. Mm-hmm. The top 3 are usually like an important position. I just want to clarify here, you did not write this article. Zero Hedge's anonymous authors, you didn't write the author, and you didn't write the article and submit it there, right?
No, I didn't.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Because it all revolves around Israel, and that seems like one of the smallest nations in the world, mm-hmm. and the top 3 revolve around Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, remember what we have from Revelation chapter 9, where it says that these angels are bound up in the Euphrates River. So all of this that we just mentioned, and what Netanyahu's worried about, Iran, Iraq, Syria, those all line up along the Euphrates River. So he's talking about the very area that the Bible talks about, and that's his concern, and that's what Iran is saying. We're going to come at you from all these fronts. So it's as if those spirits are loose now, those angels have been loosed. They're influencing the mind of these men to come and make war against Israel. And it looks like the sixth trumpet war is getting ready to sound based on this article and based on the things that we see. You know, we talk about it every day.
Now, to clarify, the article from Zero Hedge, they're not telling us about Bible prophecy. They're not telling us that a third of mankind is going to die from this war. They're not saying that.
Right.
They're saying a war is coming that will kill billions of people, but they're not specifically tying it to Bible prophecy. We're throwing that in to help people see that these current events and how they line up with what the Bible says.
The thing is, though, they do in the article call it apocalyptic war.
Right.
So they are talking about the war of Revelation. They just don't know which one they're talking about. They're thinking more toward Armageddon. And we're looking more, this is the sixth trumpet war, which we know is not the same thing as Armageddon. So they are calling it apocalyptic. They just don't know the prophecies to tie the prophecies with what they're talking about. That's where we come in.
Got it.
Yeah.
We need to get a hold of the guys from Zero Hedge.
Man, I'm telling you.
Maybe we can help with that. I do want to remind you about First Cup Coffee. They're a Christian-owned patriot coffee company, Doug. They're right out of the great state of Texas. They're actually right outside of Houston in Pearland, so they were also hit by the hurricane. So be praying for the folks at First Cup and everyone connected there. They have 11 different roasts, each one named after a specific piece of American history. You can get one of those roasts by going to firstcup.com. Use code Endtime to get 10% off. If you subscribe, they'll actually give you another 10% off. So go to firstcup.com, use code Endtime to get 10% off today. My favorite is the Buzz Armstrong. Your favorite is the... I don't remember now.
Boston Common.
The Boston
But
Common.
you know what? Right now we had the Rushmore, which was one of the first
upstairs
ones
in our office.
Yeah, that's one of the first ones that we ever tried, and I love that one too. I forgot how much I love that, but I've been drinking it. I've had 3 cups this morning.
Oh my!
So I'm a little wired, but I'm excited too because I mean we're talking about this article and how this lines up with Bible prophecy, but the coffee does help very much. So I do like that Rushmore quite a bit.
It's good to have good coffee.
It is.
Don't forget, we're taking your calls. The number to join us is 877-Endtime, 877-363-8463. Today we're talking about 10 signs global war is rapidly approaching. Doug, we've gone through the first 3. What is number 4?
Yeah, so this is one of those events. Now, this is something that we could actually talk about along with some of the stuff we were talking about last week, because this is talking about the U.S. military movements in that area. So number 4 says that this is one of the flags that gives us a reason to believe this is coming. The U.S. is positioning assets to evacuate Americans from the region in case an all-out war erupts between Israel and Hezbollah. So the United States is believing this is going to happen. One of the warships that they've got out there, it's not really a warship, it is an amphibious assault ship. Okay, so this is the USS Wasp is the name of it. And this is Marines that are on this vessel. This is one of those amphibian crafts that can come on to the beach. The gate comes down and they can drive vehicles off of this and be able to just work right from the Mediterranean Sea onto shore and get people out of the area. So as we were talking last week about how the Palestinian Authority is trying to cut off all the access points for the settlement areas for Jewish people to be able to get out. They're taking hold of all the high ground and the highways. This might be one of those ways that we're able to evacuate people even out of that area during the Great Tribulation. How the eagle's wings will be another way that's viewed there. But they're lining this up with this war, thinking, okay, we are going to have to evacuate our citizens out of there and get United States citizens out of there, and probably other people. They're thinking, other folks that might be in an area that need to be rescued out of that. So we've got that ship that's there. Like I said, it's an amphibious vehicle. And then there's also one that they call a dock landing ship, the USS Oak Hill, and another amphibious group that is ready. So a group that's there. And remember, the United States Marines these are Marine ships. So these guys are the guys that go in and they will be like an assault team that can go in and get people out quickly and have a team that goes in there and does this. So they are already preparing for this, thinking something bigger is coming, Vince. So kind of one of those warning signs where you watch and you wonder, okay, what in the world's going on? But this looks like the teams are already being dispatched and put in place as if this war could really escalate quickly, like within days is what this article is talking about.
Doug, we're coming up against a break here. I think we have time to cover one more. We've covered the top 4. Now it's time for number 5. That'll give us the second half of the show to get to calls at 877 Endtime and also cover the last half of this. So, number 5.
Yeah, so number 5, because we had already mentioned it in number 1, but it reiterates this because really this is an updated launch, but the rocket attacks from Hezbollah, this is the 200 rockets that I talked about earlier in northern Israel. When this article was written at count, when the article was written, it was only 40 rockets that had been fired at that time, but it increased that evening, so Thursday evening into Friday morning, our Friday morning. So when I say Thursday evening, our Friday morning, it's a different time in Israel. But it actually escalated, and so they said just the count that the rocket attacks are coming from Hezbollah, and there were 200 of them. This is another sign that things could be escalating quickly.
So, Doug, before we go to the break, what do people do with information like this? Do they go to Montana and live out in the fields, or what do they do?
Some people may want to do that, but that's not what we're suggesting. For one thing, I mean, we do need to stand with Israel in prayer because even though the majority of this article is talking about that region, which lines up with Bible prophecy and what we've been talking about, we don't have to be afraid, but what we need to be is informed, and we need to know how to pray. We need to know, okay, this is how we're going to pray for the people of God. We know that God has Israel in the palm of their hand, and we know that as Americans that we're supposed to be helping Israel. We're supposed to bless Israel so that we're not cursed because of cursing Israel. And so I just suggest everybody pray for this nation, pray for our leadership, seek God. You know, the Bible says, seek the Lord while you can, because those days are coming when you may not be able to do that. So we need to be doing that now.
All right, open lines at 877 Endtime, 877-363-8463. We'll be right back after the break.
A voice spoke to me and said, I've got something I want to show you. I was so sure God had talked to me. And I was stunned by what I saw.
A direct fulfillment of this over 2,500-year-old prophecy. The United States will stand with Israel.
Why haven't I ever seen this before?
1/3 of humanity will die. What do these beasts symbolize?
The lion, the bear, the leopard.
The combined beast from Revelation 13 represents the end-time government of the Antichrist. Understanding the end time.
Now streaming on Endtime Plus and available to order at endtime.com/UET. Go to endtime.com/UET or call 800-ENDTIME.
What if you could understand Bible prophecy? Dave Robbins, the host of the End Time Show's TV and radio programs, is holding a free prophecy conference near you. Gain peace and understanding about what the Bible says concerning end time prophecy. Call 1-800-ENDTIME or go to endtime.com/events to see when Dave will be in a location near you.
Welcome back to the Endtime Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. Open lines at 877 Endtime, 877-363-8463. As the commercial just said, go to endtime.com/events to see when we're going to be in your area next. Doug, this weekend, you're going to Bunkie, Louisiana.
I am.
You told Tina you're taking her there to celebrate your anniversary, I know.
No, I didn't tell her that, but we actually got a little bit of a celebration, so she's happy right now. But we're going to go there and do a prophecy conference. Yeah, happy right now. There will come a time when I'll face a reckoning, but right now she's happy. But we're going to go teach the Understanding the End Time Bible study. Basically, we're not teaching the Bible study. We're teaching Understanding the End Time as an introductory course there, so that people can go and they can jump into those Bible studies for free there at that church, and they can, go 0 to 60 in their prophecy knowledge.
There you go. Bunkie is in between Lafayette and Alexandria. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be right in that area. So if you are in the Bunkie, Louisiana area, make plans to come out and meet Doug and Tina there. Dave will be picking up his conference schedule back in August. So again, all that is listed at endtime.com/events, or you can call us at 800 endtime, 800-363-8463. We'll be happy to help you out with that over the phone. Doug, I mentioned the Joe Biden comment, but then someone put in the comments that I look like the Hawaiian Hitman. Have you heard of him?
I have.
He's a slap boxer or whatever. It's not whatever it's called. I can't remember.
They sent me an email last week with the picture, so I got to see him.
You got the picture, so you know what he looks like.
Yeah.
What do you think? I need a beard and me tanner than I already am. More tan than I am.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put your weight back on.
That's true.
You've lost so much weight that I don't think you could be that guy now.
Maybe we need to do a slap box. What's that called?
I don't know.
It's not important.
But I don't want to do that.
And I don't either.
Okay.
I have no desire. Those guys get their face messed up.
I don't want to do that.
Anyway, also I need to provide some resolve. I have to do a public apology. I blame my children and my wife for shutting the chicken coop door. We were gone all day one day and came back and it was shut. Ooh. So it wasn't them.
Could be the wind.
So it can't be the wind. I don't know what to say about that, but
maybe there's a fox coming up there.
I've got a broody hen, and I'm thinking she's surely not shutting that door behind her when she goes in.
You need to get you a camera and put it up and see what's going on.
I know, but
keep
anyway,
us up to date on that.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's wanting to know. I've got more chicken door recommendations than ever before, and I've seen all those. I'm a chicken guy, so I know what's out there. But
there you go.
Nonetheless, I need to apologize to my wife and children for blaming all four of them.
You really do, yeah.
So there it is.
All
I'm
right.
sorry. Doug, we've talked about not to go from chickens to global war, but we kind of have to. That's the subject for today. 10 signs global war is rapidly approaching. We've talked about 1 through 5. By the way, 4 out of the 5 involve Israel.
Yes.
I do want to highlight, we have a campus there still. Jerusalem Prophecy College is happening. Dave teaches it from right here in our studio every single week. Mm-hmm. And that college is also available online, which, by the way, those courses are on sale with our summer sale. So go to endtime.com/summer. You'll see Jerusalem Prophecy College enrollment is only $33 per course right now.
That's good.
So that's only available for a limited time. You can access that at endtime.com/summer. Of course, there's a bunch of other stuff there. We just saw Dave carting in another box of books to sign. He did say he was going to tape the marker to his hand and sign the books if he had to.
Yeah.
And so he is working hard for all of you out there that purchased a book, because every Understand the End Time book that gets purchased in this summer sale is signed by Dave personally. Mm-hmm. So that's listed at endtime.com/summer. The Jerusalem Prophecy College enrollment is listed there. We can help you out over the phone for that as well. 800 End Time's the number to call. But nonetheless, top 5 we've already covered. Number 6 looks like Israel's coming in hot again.
Yeah, so number 6, that's exactly what it's talking about, is these Israeli airstrikes that have happened in southern Lebanon. And one of the things that happened, this is one of the reasons why Iran was making those threats. They believe that the IDF operatives are going into Lebanon and getting this detailed intelligence information, and then the airplanes are able to go in there and make these direct hits. So that's what's going on. It says Israeli fighter jets struck a building in Hula where a group of Hezbollah operatives were gathered. The military said. The IDF said the operatives were spotted by troops of the 869th Combat Intelligence Collection Unit, and a short while later this airstrike was carried out. So that's what one of the things Iran is saying, is that if they continue to have this going on in southern Lebanon in these areas, and they know that there is IDF officers on the ground there, that's when Iran will for sure get fully involved. So another reason, number 6, the Israeli airstrikes. And of course, Israel airstrikes are pretty precisioned anyway. I mean, this is where Dave's talked about it before, and we've talked about it also, like when they're going into a populated area, one of the things they'll do is send in these dummy bombs and hit a building with messages on them that, hey, in 30 minutes, this is going to be hot. We're bringing it in hot, so evacuate the area, get people out, and then they'll come back and boom, they'll take people out. And I remember also one time there was a Hamas leader who they took out with an Israeli airstrike, who was in his home at his library, and they were able to precisely send that bomb right into his library window and blow him up and not hurt anybody else within that area. So they can do some things like that. They've got technology, that other people do not have, and even have upgraded our fighters that we have given them. So anyway, that's something. Number 6, Israeli airstrikes.
All right, number 7.
Number 7 is one where we're moving into a different area of the world finally. So yeah, we're getting out of that area, but we're moving into another hot location, and this is why number 10 will be a big deal when we get there. But the U.S. contractors are going to be given the green light, apparently, to go into Ukraine. And when I say contractors, I'm not talking about building contractors that are going in there and going to help rebuild things. It says President Joe Biden's administration has considered plans to deploy U.S. military contractors to the Ukraine in a limited capacity, which would mean we would have U.S. military boots on the ground in Ukraine. So that's why this is a big deal. This policy would allow the Pentagon to issue private contracts to troops to maintain and repair U.S. supplied systems in the Ukraine. So where these guys are not actually going in and fighting, they will be going in to work on United States military equipment. And it will be an excuse for Putin and Russia to say, you've sent troops into the Ukraine. You've allowed these troops to go in. Because not only will it be U.S. military troops that are in there, but they'll be working on U.S. military equipment that we've sent the Ukraine to help fight against Russia.
So what are you predicting there, Doug? The way you said that felt like it implied more, or maybe you don't want to talk about it.
We'll just have to wait and see what that implies. But some people in other articles I've read said this could turn into, boots on the ground, actually fighting men. Now, remember, the president of France, Macron, at one point, he sent in military experts to help train fighting efforts there, and has called on NATO, to be nuclear armed. And so, remember when we did the program, Will the Real Warmonger Please Stand Up? This is what's going on in those areas. So,
gotcha. And you bring up Emmanuel Macron, Doug. And anytime you say that, people start commenting.
I know.
He's the Antichrist.
He
I get
is.
texts, emails, calls, all the things letting us know not to overlook Emmanuel Macron. Of course, we did a show on Endtime Plus. This is for free. You can go to watch.endtime.com and you can look up Emmanuel Macron. And we did a show called Is Emmanuel Macron the Antichrist, where we answer that question. So check that out. No further comment, I suppose, on that, Doug.
No, I just leave that out there. Just the speculation of this article. That's what they were saying is number 7.
There we go. So number 8 is now Putin's coalition, Doug. What does that have to do with it?
Yeah, so this is another major event that is happening. They believe that when Putin met last week with North Korea, that this is part of what he is doing. He is basically building a rival to Europe's NATO, and they think that he is building a coalition, which is interesting because remember, there's going to be an Antichrist that's going to rise out of a military coalition or a kingdom coalition with 10 kings. And so anytime you hear things like this, you begin to ask questions as well. But we've got Putin that is trying to create a Moscow-friendly country that would rival the West and NATO by doing this. And like I said, the assessment by Washington, D.C., the think tank, they followed Putin's visit to North Korea, and they said that this is deepening an already intensified relation of convenience, which these are two major nuclear powers that are coming together and saying, we're going to be allies, and they're trying to build like a NATO force that would rival NATO and be able to fight against those NATO forces. So with all the things that are moving in the Ukrainian war situation with NATO and the things that are being said about let's move some ground troops in there, let's give them drones from the U.S., let's do all these different things, Putin is getting more and more painted in a box, so to speak, or painted in a corner where he's having to reach out and do different things. And so number 8 is very interesting as he puts this coalition together. We'll have to watch and see how big that grows. But right now, 2 major nuclear powers, again, becoming friends. So you got China, you got Russia, you got North Korea. Danger zone.
There you go. Well, there's 9 and 10 left, and you're not going to believe number 10. We are coming up on a break here pretty soon, so I want to go ahead and get to the phones and bring in one caller while we have time right now. So we're going to go to Tennessee. Blaine is watching there. Blaine, welcome to the End Time Show.
Well, hello. How are you?
We are well, sir. How are you?
I am absolutely wonderful. I commented in the Facebook comment section about Brother Dave had spilled the beans last Sunday night about the big announcement, and I was wondering when you was going to spill the beans about the big announcement.
Well, not quite ready, Blaine. I'm sorry to say. We are going to make a video and post it on Endtime Plus, and then it'll release more publicly soon after that. So we've got some things to shore up on our end. We're not quite ready.
Lots of moving parts.
Lots of moving parts, Doug. There's so many moving parts. But there is big news coming, that's for sure. And I can't guarantee it won't slip out of one of us while we talk, because it is hard to hold back.
I have searched the internet since last night, and I can't find anything out there.
Well, we announced it in our studio, and there were no cameras connected. So
yeah, but I'm hoping somebody's got loose lips.
Well, there's plenty of that walking around. There's no doubt about that. But
look, I do. I know we're coming up on the break. I got a comment about number 8. There, you're going to bury the lead. How much time do I got?
About 30 seconds.
Okay, well, don't bury the lead in number 8 there. They have got to drag those bare feet in. They're missing right now. Well, so is the Eagles' wings, but we know in the end that's not going to happen anyway. Right. But they have somehow or another, they got to drag those bare feet in, and they've got to eliminate Putin to do so, and so be it.
Yeah. Good point. It's a great point, Blaine.
Absolutely. All right, we have more open lines at 877 End Time, 877-363-8463. Give us a call. We'll be right back.
They that understand what is taking place will instruct many.
Except a man is born again, he can enter or see the kingdom of God.
I don't care what label you've been given or what label you've given yourself, you are essential. You still matter.
This is a journey, and when we get to the other side of that, that's where our prize is. That's where our reward is.
Endtime is not going anywhere.
Welcome back to the End Time Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. We're talking about 10 signs global war is rapidly approaching. We've covered 1 through 8 already, and we've got 9 and 10 to give you, and we're going to get to the phones as well. The number to join us is 877-ENDTIME, 877-363-8463. Doug, I need to make clear here that my wife and I are not pregnant. That's what everyone wants to know. I hear that a lot. Is the big news that you're pregnant? No, I probably wouldn't promote that on the show quite like that. This is definitely end time related. We've got big news that's coming. The only reason I'm not talking about it today, Doug, is because there's loose ends to shore up, and we want to be able to send people somewhere in order to allow them to engage with the big announcement. And so none of that is done yet. We threw in a special, I guess, a special reveal Sunday night before we were ready.
Does sound like you're pregnant.
And so, yeah, I know. And
we had a reveal party.
So it is coming soon, though, for the broader audience. So stick around. We're very excited. God's doing wonderful things. There has been miracle after miracle to lead us to the point where we are. The announcement's not even that we're doing a 2-hour show, Doug. Some people have said that. And
yeah, it's bigger than that.
It's a little bit bigger than that, Doug.
Yeah,
we're very excited about what God's going to do. And
God's really been in the middle of all that. That's what's been fun to watch. And that's why we've also kind of not said nothing, because we don't think God's finished moving some things around. We're waiting to see what all, when we get ready to announce this, you guys hold on.
You won't want to hunker in the bunker.
You will not want to hunker.
By the way, people want that T-shirt as well.
As Joel in Oklahoma says.
Yes. So, number 8, Doug.
Yeah. Well, we're on number 9 now.
Number 9, yes. I'm a little...
Right.
Yes.
So number 8 was that they were making a coalition with other groups like NATO and Russia. Now, number 9 is nuclear production, and Russia is working on intermediate range nuclear weapons. This article says that the Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that Russia must respond to U.S. actions by starting the production of intermediate range nuclear forces strike system. During a meeting with the Russian Security Council, Putin emphasized the need to manufacture these systems and decide on their deployment to ensure national safety. Russia also possesses the largest stockpile of tactical nuclear weapons, as developed advanced Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missiles. These are surpassing the capabilities of the United States with our older, what they call Minuteman missiles. But also what they're talking about is they're talking about setting up a system that could shoot down our missiles, our Minuteman missiles and things. So they're saying that basically that America is kind of becoming the aggressor here because of, we've talked about moving different type of missiles into the Ukrainian area, allowing them to have access to some things. And so Russia's saying, hey, we've got to step up things because it looks like America's going to push us into a war. So that's number 9, nuclear production there. Okay.
And then let's do a quick review, Doug.
Yeah.
Because number 10, you said...
Number 10's coming.
You need to share the video right now. We're about to reveal number 10. Doug says that you're going to be surprised by it, or at least it's the one that stood out most to him. I need to represent his statement properly.
Yeah.
Number 1 was Israel and Hezbollah preparation. Number 2, Iran's warning, their threats on obliterating war if Israel invades the southern Lebanon. Number 3 is Netanyahu's conviction. Number 4 is U.S. military movements. 5 is the rocket attacks from Hezbollah. Number 6 is Israeli airstrikes. Number 7, U.S. contractors in Ukraine. Number 8, Putin's coalition. Number 9, nuclear production. And again, I will reiterate here, Doug, we did not write this article. This is from Zero Hedge. And so number 10, though, is what? What's so shocking about number 10 to you, Doug?
Number 10 is the fact that they are actually calling for, this is a guy within Moscow's foreign defense. He calls for a nuclear detonation. He says there needs to be a nuclear warhead detonated to prove that Russia's not messing around. So Dmitry Suzlov, a prominent figure at the Moscow-based Council for Foreign and Defense Policies proposed that Russia conduct a demonstrative nuclear detonation, potentially triggering World War III. This suggestion comes amid escalating tensions with the West over the Ukraine's use of Western-supplied weapons against Russian forces. Now, Suslov think tank, think tank says it is influenced by government policy. It released this proposal shortly after President Vladimir Putin warned NATO that Western arms used against Russia could lead to a global crisis, highlighting severe repercussions. Now remember, I think it was a year ago, this same suggestion was made. And what he said then, might not even been the same guy, I can't remember the gentleman's name that said it, but he proposed that Russia launch a nuclear warhead into New Mexico. I think he specifically said Nevada. Take out Nevada and let the United States know how serious all this can be. Do you remember talking about that on that one program that we did, talking about that suggestion that they made? So now here it is being made again, but this is coming from their defense team. So this guy's saying this is what we need to do. Now think about what that could cause, and that's why it's a big deal to me, because if Russia launches a nuclear warhead and blows it up somewhere to show that they have the power to do this, I mean, that is a step toward World War III. We're talking, I mean, I don't know if he's calling for a potential strike on U.S. soil or if he's talking about hitting the Ukraine. But regardless of what he's talking about here, if they were to launch a nuclear missile or even blow up a dirty nuke somewhere and take something out with a nuclear warhead, that could potentially start World War III. And there has been talk on other channels, you know, other people that I listen to, and I know you listen to different people too, and just kind of gather information. That's one of the reasons why we listen to those. But I've heard other people say that this could be something that the U.S. uses and says, well, we've just been attacked by Russia, we've got to attack back. And then there's a false flag of war that's coming that will actually see nuclear warheads go off, and people will believe that there's a war. The internet goes down, everything crashes, all that conspiracy theory talk. So the thing is when you see government officials within Russia say, we've got to do something like this to fight back against what the West is doing for Ukraine, that to me is, that number 10 to me is number 1 on the list, because I'm going, wait, they're talking about actually firing off a missile.
Well, and again, we didn't write these, so Doug, these top 10 are from Zero Hedge, but they align so much with what Bible prophecy has been saying, of course, written thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And we always try to explain current events through a lens of Bible prophecy and bring peace and hope. And how are we getting peace and hope out of all this, Doug?
Right. Well, so that's one of those things where, you know, like I said before, we just need to be aware that these things are being talked about and what the Bible says. We know that's coming. That war is coming. There's nothing we can do to stop it. It's going to kill 1/3 of mankind. The Bible says that they're killed by the fire, the smoke, and the brimstone. So this is one of the reasons why we've always felt like this is going to be a nuclear war, because it's going to kill so many people, and it appears that it's going to happen really fast. It's going to be a quick war. It's going to happen quickly, and I know some people don't agree with us on that because of where the woe falls, and we've talked about that. But this second woe, we've always believed it would be nuclear because of what the prophecy says about 1/3 being killed. It's more than was killed in World War I, World War II. 1/3 of the population being killed. And the Bible says that they're killed by the fire, the smoke, and the brimstone. That definitely sounds like nuclear war to me.
Yeah. Well, Doug, I'm not getting hope and peace from the country of Israel. I'm not getting hope and peace from our U.S. government or from the Biden administration or from what Russia and Putin does or anything else. I look to Jesus as my source for hope and my source for peace. And it doesn't matter what's going on around the world even.
Right.
That's not what determines where my hope and peace levels are at, Doug.
Right.
Jesus is my source of peace. He's my one source.
Yeah.
Jesus is my one source of hope. And so when I go through all this stuff, whether it may not even be a global thing, you know, I've shared publicly about my hospital stay and, you know, personal trials that we've gone through, and my coop door won't stay open. You know, we have not quite that, but for serious problems, Doug, I'm looking at things going, I can't rely on any of this stuff for security, for hope, for confidence. Everything I've got, it's all in Jesus. So I've been telling people to put it in the comments lately. We need to remind everybody. We need to remind ourselves. I got to remind myself a lot. Jesus is my one source for all the things, not my paycheck, not my investments, not my whatever. He's the source. So put it in the comments. Jesus is my one source. Definitely a great reminder for everyone out there. Doug, we have a little bit of time to get to some calls. You want to try to do that now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we're going to go to Texas. Michael is watching there. Michael, welcome to the Endtime Show.
Hey, God bless you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Vince, I don't think you look like the Hawaiian hitman, bro. I just want to encourage you there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I kind of got a question. I appreciate you guys bringing all this news in front of us and for your ministry, for being watchmen, and I appreciate your stand on the post-tribulation doctrine also. I think that's more important. I think a lot of people are really taking that lightly, and it's really unpopular to kind of talk about out there. But I know in Matthew 24, starting in verse 9, Jesus said, "Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me." And then in verse 10, it says, "At that time, many will turn away from the faith." And I'm just wondering if you guys think that this pre-tribulation theory, you know, people that are buying into that, I think it leaves an open door for them to fall into deception when all this breaks out if they're believing falsely. And I just wanted to kind of hear you guys' take on that, and also encourage people that are out there that are listening to you guys and can see the truth of the word. You know, Matthew 24, 1 Thessalonians 4, 2 Thessalonians 2, and Revelation. It's very clear, you know, we're raptured at the first resurrection, and the first resurrection isn't until, you know, until after these things, right before the millennium.
Well, so come on, Michael, preach it for us. You're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I just want to encourage people to be bold out there and wake people up, because I think a false belief in this really is setting people up for a fall. And I'm not a Calvinist, so I don't believe in what's saved, always saved.
Right.
You know, so I think we just need to take this seriously, you know, and be as one of the 5 wise virgins. And again, tell you guys thank you so much for your ministry and for bringing this news in front of us. And God bless you guys.
Thank you, Michael. God bless you.
He brings up a lot of good points, Vince. And, you know, I mean, that's true. That's where a lot of people, I think, are going to fall into that trap, because they're going to fall for that one world religious system that comes up. And it's going to be preaching things that tickle our ears. And so I think a lot of people can fall into that trap. And that's where that falling away will be. But then there's going to be people that follow Christ and know, hey, we're being persecuted because of Jesus. Same thing that happened to the disciples. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Doug. I think of that song, Jesus is the answer for the world today. That is still true. Again, if you haven't already, put it in the comments. Jesus is my one source. If you're loud and proud about that, make it known in the comments. Let us know that you're following along there. I'd want to remind you to go to endtime.com/summer. Don't forget to go to watch.endtime.com, and of course endtime.com. There's thousands of hours of content available totally free there. Go there, check it all out. It's available for free because of partners like you that give every single month at endtime.com/give. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time.